Next, we're going to look at boning our chicken out completely. So what that involves is removing the central cage, but leaving the legs and breast attached by the skin. First, you're going to turn your chicken over and you're going to start at your backbone. So what you want to do is cut down the center line and slowly peel each side back around the cage of the animal. I just like to come down to the side of the parson's nose and just start off by cutting a straight line down. I like to leave as much skin on there as possible, because if you're stuffing the chicken, you want something to wrap around. And it's just with a tip of a sharp knife. You're just going to peel back all the way down. Now again, hitting that cage bone, hitting that bone, scraping every single time. You want to try and keep as much of the meat on the actual chicken, on the meat of the animal, rather than on the cage bone. Now, the first thing you will come to is on the hip, just above that oyster, is the hip joint. Now, you can work your tip in there. Nice little easy way just to push it out. What that does, it dislocates the hip, makes it a lot easier to cut through. As I work down, and you'll see this little wing bow joint, almost the equivalent of, say, a shoulder blade there. What's that attached to down here is your wing, which is another joint, the next joint you want to cut through. Simple. Joints on chickens are very easy to cut through. Nice sharp knife will generally get through them every time. Same thing with boning anything out. You start one end and you move your way down. Tip of the knife always just loosens it up. First thing, so I'm pulling that leg away, cutting, and there we are. So if you see what I've done there, the leg's boned off, I've started the breast. Now as the cage goes around, I need to make sure to keep tight to that cage bone, keep tight to the cage of the animal, leave all that meat on the breast. Always let that weight of that animal work for you. Push it away and go from one end to the other. Just going to cut through the wishbone there, open it out, and leave that on the breast this time. We'll take that out a bit later. What we want to get every single bit of meat on that chicken. Now there's two ways of going through at this point. You can either stop there and come down the same thing the other side. What I like to do is go on this flat bone here, come in and work around from the top. As you can see, it's always with the tip of the knife. I'm never going deep, I'm never going too far. Just working around slowly. And letting that weight, by doing it this way, that weight of that animal, weight of the meat, pulls away at the bone, lets me see exactly where I'm going. And I've come down, I'm at the other side of where I showed you before with the joints. So you'll see here, already exposed the joint where the wing meets and the joint where the hip meets there. Chicken is really the universal one, and pretty much anyone can learn to do this quite quickly at home. Pull those bones away as you cut. Next thing I'm going to do, just your little wishbone in the end there. Run your knife down either side of those little bones. Sits at the top of the breast. It can be a tricky bone to take out. Got that. So there we have the first stage. So as you can see, what this shows you is just how the animal's made up. Got the two breasts there, meat in the centre, the legs either end of the thighs. Now what you can do, that's beautiful to marinate there. You could stuff that, leave the leg bones in. If you're good at tying, tie that so it still looks like a bird on the bone, but beautifully stuffed, ready to roast. Marinate, go straight on the barbecue like that. You can leave those leg bones in, or what I'm going to do now is just bone those out. Fairly simple. You've got one straight bone down to where it joins with the drumstick, and then one drumstick bone. First thing you want to do, at the bottom of this drumstick's lots of little hard bits of cartilage. If you just loosen them up, straight through, what that will do, make it a lot easier for you when you're boning this leg out. Tip of your knife, all the way down. Scraping against that bone, don't want to leave any meat on there if we can help it. What I do, you work from one end to each bone to the other, so I'm working joint to joint. And then first with the thigh, I'm going to pull that bone up and let the weight of that just tell me exactly where I'm going to cut. Makes it very, very easy. Scrape down, there's your leg bone. Just want the last little bit I want to get. You've got that little, what is the equivalent of a kneecap there. Just want to scoop that out, being careful not to cut through the skin. A little bit tricky. There we go. Just going to take out the other side. Exactly the same, you're just coming from a different angle. So you work bone to bone, joint to joint. Loosen either side. Same down the drumstick. Letting that weight of that meat do the work. Pull the bone away as you cut. Small cuts all the way. Last little bit is that kneecap. And there we have your boneless chicken. Now, like I said, marinate that straight on the barbecue as it is, or stuff it, roll it, and have a beautiful little boneless joint. It's very, very easy to carve once it's cooked.